Environmental disaster. An environmental disaster or ecological disaster is defined as a catastrophic event regarding the natural environment that is due to human activity. This point distinguishes environmental disasters from other disturbances such as natural disasters and intentional acts of war such as nuclear bombings. Environmental disasters show how the impact of humans' alteration of the land has led to widespread. These disasters have included deaths of wildlife, humans and plants, or severe disruption of human life or health, possibly requiring migration. Environmental disasters. Environmental disasters historically have affected agriculture, biodiversity including wildlife, the economy, and human health. The most common causes include pollution that seeps into groundwater or a body of water, emissions into the atmosphere, and depletion of natural resources, industrial activity, or agricultural practices. Here you can find a list of well-known environmental disasters. Seveso disaster, 1976 release of dioxin. Love Canal, 1978 neighborhood in Niagara Falls, New York, that was contaminated by 21,000 tons of toxic chemicals, including at least 12 that are known carcinogens, halogenated organics, chlorobenzenes, and dioxin among them, from a former chemical waste dump site. President Carter declared a state of emergency in 1978, and it eventually led to the destruction of homes and relocation of more than 800 families. The effects of the disaster led to the 1980 Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation, and Liability Act, better known as Superfund. The Love Canal disaster is also credited as the start of the environmental activism movement in the United States. Amoco Cadiz oil spill, 1978. The vessel broke in two, releasing its entire cargo of 1.6 million barrels, 250,003 of oil. OKTD environmental disaster, 1984. As of 2006, mine operators have discharged about 2 billion tons of tailings, overburden, and mine-induced erosion into the OKTD River system. About 1588 square kilometers, 613 sq mi of forest has died or is under stress. Opal disaster, 1984 release of methyl isocyanate gas and other chemicals. Some estimate 8,000 people died within 2 weeks. A government affidavit in 2006 stated the leak caused 558,125 injuries, including 38,478 temporary, partial, and approximately 3,900 severely and permanently disabling injuries. Chernobyl disaster, 1986. The official Soviet count of 31 deaths has been disputed. An UNSEER report places the total confirmed deaths from radiation at 64 as of 2008. The eventual death toll could reach 4,000. Some 50 emergency workers died of acute radiation syndrome, 9 children died of thyroid cancer, and an estimated total of 3,940 died from radiation-induced cancer and leukemia. Hanford Nuclear, 1986. The U.S. government declassifies 19,000 pages of documents indicating that between 1946 and 1986, a Hanford site near Richland, Washington, released thousands of U.S. gallons of radioactive liquids. Radioactive waste was both released into the air and flowed into the Columbia River, which flows to the ocean. Exxon Valdez oil spill, 1989, spilled 267,150,000 barrels, 41,119,003 of crude oil. Prestige oil spill, 2002, spilled over 20 million U.S. gallons, 76,003 of 2 different grades of heavy fuel oil. Prudhoe Bay oil spill, 2006, spilled up to 267,000 U.S. gallons, 1010 6,400 BVL. Kingston fossil plant coal fly ash slurry spill, 2008, spilled 1.1 million U.S. gallons, 4,200,003 of slurry from a coal plant, covering 300 acres, flowing down several rivers, destroying homes and contaminating water. volume spilled was over 7 times as much as the volume of oil spilled in the Deepwater Horizon disaster. Deepwater Horizon oil spill, 2010. An explosion killed 11 men working on the platform and injured 34 others. The gushing wellhead was capped after it had released about 4.9 million barrels, 780,003 of crude oil. Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster, 2011 was an energy accident initiated primarily by the tsunami following the Tohoku earthquake on 11 March 2011. Immediately after the earthquake, the insufficient cooling led to 3 nuclear meltdowns, hydrogen air explosions, and the release of radioactive material. Level 7 event classification of the International Nuclear Event Scale. Climate change and disaster risks. A 2013 report examined the relationship between disasters and poverty worldwide. It concludes that, without concerted action, there could be upwards of 325 million people living in the 49 countries most exposed to the full range of natural hazards and climate extremes in 2040. Social vulnerability and environmental disaster. Mitigation efforts. There have been many attempts throughout recent years to mitigate the impact of environmental disasters. Environmental disaster is caused by human activity, so many believe that such disasters can be prevented or have their consequences curbed by human activity as well. Efforts to attempt mitigation are evident in cities such as Miami, Florida, in which houses along the coast are built a few feet off of the ground in order to decrease the damage caused by rising tides due to rising sea levels. Although mitigation efforts such as those found in Miami might be effective in the short term, many environmental groups are concerned with whether or not mitigation provides long-term solutions to the consequences of environmental disaster.